Pipe him aloft again, matey.
We're now developing a master plan that encompasses the theme park and all the facilities around it that will serve the tourists.
Captain, giant squid dead ahead.
Stand by, repellent charge.
Homo sapiens. Well, no matter. But after all, nobody's perfect.
Well, as you can see, we're just one big happy family.
WDW Radio, your information station. Welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. This is show number 57 for the week of March 9th, 2008. I'm your host, Lou Mangello, and I want to thank you for tuning in once again this week. To all of my new listeners that might be joining us for the first time, I want to welcome you to the show as well. I think you'll find it to be a positive, fun, feel-good look at Walt Disney World that will inform, educate, and entertain you. This weekend, I'm heading to Disneyland in California to compare and contrast the two. Okay, so I'm really going to Disneyland simply to enjoy the parks for a few days, so unfortunately this week, I'm once again recording early and won't have the ability to cover the news and rumors due to when I'm recording. But of course, I'll be back next week with all of the Walt Disney World news and our weekly visit to the Walt Disney World rumor mill. Next month, Disney's Animal Kingdom is going to be celebrating its 10th anniversary, and following in the success of Celebration 25, Adam Roth and his team have put together WDWcelebrations.com and have organized a Wild Decade, a gathering to commemorate this occasion. So I'm going to be joined by Adam and another member of his team, Jason Diffendahl, to discuss the event and how you can get involved. Tim Foster, author of the Guide to the Magic series of books, is back for another Top 10 with Tim, as we reveal our individual Top 10 snacks to enjoy in World Showcase. Any discussion of food in Walt Disney World is fun, and in the process, we hope to introduce you to some snacks that you just may have overlooked or never thought to try. It's a fat-free trip around the promenade, guaranteed to leave you hungry at the end. Now, I often get questions about some recommended reading and books that I enjoy about Walt Disney World, Disney history, Walt Disney, etc. So this week, I'm bringing in another guest, George Taylor from the Imagine Nerding blog, to examine and discuss the 5 books that every Disney geek needs in their library. I won't have time to answer any of your emails this week, but listen for some of your voicemails at the end of the show. So as always, please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. Not too long ago, something happened in the online Disney community that marked a dramatic and exciting change. You see, Epcot was celebrating its 25th anniversary, but at one point, Disney said there would be no public celebration. But a single forum post in a Disney community led to months of hard work, causing Disney to stand up and take notice and not only plan a formal celebration, but embrace the work of these fans who were eager to celebrate this event. And at the forefront of this event and the community gathering was Adam Roth, the 16-year-old who reached out to the Disney company and received a welcoming handshake in return. And so, Celebration 25 was born, with more than 2,000 people registered to attend, and Adam and his team put together a true once-in-a-lifetime event with the help and cooperation of Disney, making it truly remarkable. Well, Adam and his team didn't stop there, and neither did the people who attended the event, because as quickly as the event ended, people were asking, what's next? And to answer that question, I want to welcome in Adam Roth and Jason Diffendahl, who are principals in the Celebration 25 event and founders of the new WDWcelebrations.com. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lou.
Thanks, Lou.
So, like I said, we all know by now about the success of Celebration 25, really sort of unprecedented. And you know, I was so happy to be a part of that and so proud to be a part of it. And like I said, you know, as soon as it was over, I mean, even while we were still there, everybody was asking what's next, you know, where they were wondering, was this going to be a single event or was it going to be the start of sort of this ongoing thing? But obviously, the event success led to the creation of WDWCelebrations.com. Why don't you guys go ahead and tell us about the site and the organization and really what's next?
Well, as you said, WDW Celebrations was one of those things that we started working on immediately after Celebration 25. In fact, I first contacted Jason about it on October 3rd, 2 days after Celebration 25 ended. And our primary goal was to make sure that this great relationship that we had formed with the Walt Disney Company, we wouldn't let it die, because this is something that had never been really explored before and on a level that we had, and to let that just go to waste we felt would be irresponsible. And we knew that there was a good response back to us asking for more events. So we very quickly started work on our future events and on our website, forming a team, including Tom Corliss, Jason Diffendahl, of course, Jackie Steele, John Carigliano, as well as myself. And we just started working to come up with new events, new ideas that would appeal to our audience as well as a greater one for the future. And with that, we have our more technical aspect, which I'll let Jason cover.
So one of the first things that we knew we needed to do was put together a website, and I started out working on the website. We had a number of ideas for the website that we wanted to put into it. The first, of course, was details about the upcoming events that we were planning. The first of which, as we'll talk about in a little bit, is A Wild Decade, celebrating the 10th anniversary of Animal Kingdom on April 22nd. But in addition to just talking about our events, we also wanted to have information on the website that would allow other groups to coordinate their own gatherings. And so we set up a calendar section of the website where other fans can organize their own meets, and we will put links to their respective forums or websites. And we just did that for the reopening of Spaceship Earth, which had a little fan gathering on March 1st. In addition to that, we have a newsletter which we send out to keep everybody updated about our upcoming events, and a number of other features too, including, of course, registration for the events and some things like that.
Yeah, I really like the idea of sort of a central repository for people to go to and find out what else is going on. You know, besides just the meets that take place in Walt Disney World every year, whether it be Mouse Fest, whatnot, there's a number of other large and small gatherings of people. There might be something like Magic Meets that takes place in Pennsylvania in the summer, and there's a number of other people that decide to get together and meet up in Walt Disney World or whatever it might be. Now, rather having to scour and sort of take time going through all the different online communities, they can now come there and post, and people can go here and find out what might be taking place either when they're down there or something that they may be interested in that they may want to make a special trip out for.
That's right. That was definitely one of the first things that we wanted to do with our website, was that sort of fan meet calendar, because we knew there were gatherings going on, and we thought it was important to have a central location for people to find out about it. And so we actually have a number of the meets up on our website listed right now, including, as you mentioned, Magic Meets and Mouse Fest, as well as a couple of others.
Again, that goes back to sort of that unofficial tagline that sort of grew out of Celebration 25, which was that unity in the community. You're not there just to promote your own events. You're there to help people find out about other ones. But let's talk about what is sort of next on the calendar for WDW Celebrations. And you made reference to Animal Kingdom's 10th anniversary. People at Celebration 25 were saying, okay, well, what's the next big milestone? What's next to celebrate? This was obviously the next logical one. Go ahead and tell us about what's going to take place on or around April 22nd.
Well, A Wild Decade is actually our first commemorative event that we will have had since Celebration 25. And we have actually lined up a great schedule for this one-day event. It really, it's one of those places that is such a unique park. We definitely wanted to take advantage of all it had to offer. We have a history walk again with John Carigliano that we're looking forward to. One of the highlights of Celebration 25 was, in fact, his history walk. We also have some group rides scheduled for Expedition Everest, a group showing of Finding Nemo the musical, and a group ride on Countdown to Extinction, now Dinosaur. That ride is becoming a tradition for us that we have for our events, what we call Countdown to Finn. For this time, last time it was the Soarin', last ride of the night meet. And we like to have one last attraction to sort of kick off the event, finish it off with a bang. So we couldn't think of any other one that really fit the criteria except Dinosaur. So along with that, we're working on a group meal. Those details haven't been released yet, but we are working on that. There is also going to be an official rededication scheduled right now for about 9 a.m. at Animal Kingdom for the park's 10th anniversary, but you also have to remember that the park is celebrating Earth Day as well, so they will have their special Earth Day activities going on as well as their 10th anniversary commemorative activities. So what we've done is wrapped our event around the Walt Disney Company's schedule, and we're actually working with them to make sure everything we do again gets the proper approval, because our golden rule is to make sure that everything we have on our schedule is approved by them or it doesn't happen. So it's another one of those events that we're working very closely with the Walt Disney Company to make sure that everything goes smoothly for us as well as the general guests, and that way we're giving the park a really great anniversary and giving our guests a really great experience.
And the great thing is not only is it just a great day to be in Animal Kingdom because of what Disney's doing, but you've got all these kind of other things plussed on top, and I'm sure a few surprises along the way, much as you did for Celebration 25. The other thing people should realize, too, is all the events are free. All you need to do is register. You don't need, there is no sort of cost associated with it, and you can kind of come to whatever events you feel like going to. Now, if somebody's interested in attending, what is the best way for them to either let you know or to find out more?
What they need to do is head over to our website at WDWcelebrations.com. We have the logo right on the front page, A Wild Decade. So just click on that. It'll take you to the details page, which will show our tentative schedule as much as we have available at this point. And then there's also a link to the registration page, which will allow people to register to let us know that you're coming. I will mention that people need to register in order to attend our event. There's going to be no possibility for walk-up registrations the morning of the event because we need to provide Disney with the total numbers beforehand. And also, we have set a date for registration to end, which is April 14th. That's so that we will have a chance, as I said, to get the numbers together and provide all the information to Disney. So head over to our website before April 14th if you're interested in registering for A Wild Decade.
Yeah, this is something not only in the wake of how wonderful Celebration 25 was, but how excited I am about what's going on. It's something I'm going to attend, and I guess it's okay to say maybe at this point that I'm also going to sponsor A Wild Decade. I don't know if you want to maybe reveal some of the other sponsors or kind of wait until that's more official. But I'm real happy to be a part of this, and I'm really looking forward to attending.
Well, we have just begun a partnership with MouseFan Travel as our official travel provider for all of our events, and so MouseFan Travel will be there and will sponsor the event as well. And we're working on getting a few more sponsors lined up for this event and our future events as well. So we'll have some nice little surprises there as well, provided by our sponsors.
And I guess we should probably note, too, that MouseFan Travel, as the exclusive travel provider, if somebody's interested in going and hasn't made arrangements as yet, they have put together some deals on packages for those attending A Wild Decade. I'll put a link in the show notes, obviously, over to WDWcelebrations.com. There you'll find a link over to MouseFan Travel from the Wild Decade page. Also, we were talking about Celebration 25, and the one thing that I forgot to mention, at the beginning, was that during Celebration 25, you guys actually had an official videographer there, taking professional video, and you've put together a Celebration 25 commemorative DVD. Can you tell us a little bit about the DVD, what's on it, and where people can get it?
Yep, so we had Matt Pizzula of Storyboard Weddings at Celebration 25, and he was the official videographer. He put together a DVD runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes, which includes a lot of the happenings of Celebration 25, including the history walks, interviews with certain people, video from the rope drop and also the chaos of the limited edition merchandise that was available that day. Of course, the official rededication ceremony as well. Video from the group ride meets at Soarin' and Journey to Imagination. And of course, the cap off of the night, the dessert party and illuminations, including the anniversary tag. So overall, it's a fantastic DVD. The link to order it is over on our website at WDW Celebrations. And I should mention the cost is only $12, which includes shipping. And it also includes a $2 donation. From every DVD purchased, we're going to donate $2 to Lou's Dream Team project, which benefits the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so one of the other things that we sort of built our whole concept of WW Celebrations on is the charity aspect. And so this is just one more way for us to help out the community at large through the Dream Team project. And so we have the proceeds from the DVD sales as well as merchandise sales from our Wild Decade merchandise and things along those lines. Proceeds will go to benefit the Dream Team project.
Yeah, and thank you again for doing that. I really do appreciate it, and everybody who buys a DVD, and Matt and all of his work. It really means a great deal, and the fact that you guys decided to include that, I can't thank you enough.
It's our pleasure.
So, now, even though a Wild Decade hasn't happened yet, I'd be remiss if I didn't say what's next, because obviously, we start thinking about other commemorative events that might be coming up or other things in the pipeline. Adam, I know that you're ready. Your wheels have been spinning, and there's definitely something even ahead. So, because, a Wild Decade is just, God, it's actually just a few weeks away. What else is after that? If people maybe can't get down in April, what else should maybe people have to look forward to?
Well, I can honestly say that we have at least another 2 events lined up for sure. One of which I can't release any details about yet, though our attendees from A Wild Decade will be getting the first sneak peek at that event. But the one closest up after A Wild Decade will actually be what we are now calling the Worldwide Weekend, taking place on September 26th through the 28th of 2008, and that is our first WDW Celebration signature event. Right now, we're still working out details for registration, but of course, again, the general event will be free to attend. We're working on a couple of pay-to-attend options, much like we did with our Illuminations dessert party at Celebration 25. But this event will be covering all 4 parks over the course of 3 days. We have a lot of great connections that we've worked up over the last year and a half, or over the last year, and we're going to be pulling out all the big guns for this event to make sure it really, really is great. We have a really great schedule lined up that we're working on right now. Some incredible surprises that I myself couldn't have even dreamed of. That partially thanks to Mouse Fan Travel again. And we really are working hard on this one. A Wild Decade is going to be a brief taste of what we have to offer when the Worldwide Weekend comes around, and it's going to be a really great event. I can't give away too much, but we've got a lot of really, really unique opportunities and surprises in store for our attendees. And again, it's right around the time of the Food and Wine Festival, around NFFC. The weather is always nice, aside from the occasional downpour. So we're really, really looking forward to this, and September couldn't come any sooner. I wish it could be here next week, but unfortunately it can't. So the anticipation is definitely going to be rising as we get closer.
And not only that, it also happens to coincide with the same weekend as the Expedition Everest Challenge. So if you plan on going down and running in the challenge, or if you've got family members that are going, now you really have no reason not to attend, because you've got, a 2-for-1 special that weekend. You've got the Worldwide Weekend, and you've got the Everest Challenge. I make it a 3-fer because you also have food and wine. So you're right. It's going to be a pretty exciting weekend. Again, for more information about any of these events, go on over to WDWCelebrations.com. You can sign up for their free newsletter. That's kind of the best way to get the new information as it's released. So, guys, Adam Roth, Jason Diffendahl, I really appreciate you guys coming on, talking to us a little bit about A Wild Decade. all that you're doing to promote this event, all that you're doing to help out the Dream Team project, and I look forward to seeing you guys in just a few weeks.
Thank you again, Lou.
Thanks very much.
In addition to bringing the Geekometer to really the highest possible level, what I also hope to accomplish with this show is to help you plan your next vacation to Walt Disney World. And in doing so, I'd like to highlight some of the best that Walt Disney World has to offer, give you valuable tips and information, and also point out some of the overlooked experiences and little bits of practical advice, and so much more to really give you the most magical vacation possible. So I also like to present these topics in some fun and different ways, often with the help of special guests. And this week, I want to once again welcome back Tim Foster, author of the Guide to the Magic books, including the all-new Guide to the Magic for Kids, for yet another Top 10 with Tim segment. All right, so I'm kind of made that up on the fly. Not sure if it's going to stick or not. But Tim, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, always a pleasure to be here, Lou. Thanks.
Top 10 with Tim. I kind of like that. It's got a nice...
I really like it.
Well, of course.
Got one vote from me. Got it. One vote from me. I love it.
So yeah, because in the past we've covered some different top 10s that dealt with a variety of different themes, like the holidays at Walt Disney World and spooky experiences in the park. But this week, in honor of... well, I guess just the fact that I'm hungry and just came back from Walt Disney World, we're going to look at some of the top 10 snacks in Walt Disney World. Now, you might be saying, well, that's easy, because there's popcorn and pretzels, but don't be so quick to make up your own list yet, because what we're actually going to do this week, Tim, is do the top 10 snacks in World Showcase, because I think so many people overlook so many snacks that are, not only delicious, but they're very unique, often inexpensive, and really some nice treats that the different pavilions have to offer.
Hey, where else can you eat your way around the world, huh?
Exactly. I'm not down with drinking around the world. Eating around the world is what I like to do.
Exactly.
So what we did was we each made up a list, and we didn't talk about it. We didn't look at each other's list or share it ahead of time. And we're just going to kind of go back and forth down our sort of virtual top 10 lists. And I'm sure there'll be overlap, so we'll cross off ones as we go through them. So do you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Why don't you take the lead there, Lou?
All right. Well, I said in the intro, I mentioned pretzels as something not to include on the list, but I'm actually going to put as number 10 the salted soft pretzel over in Germany. I really like going to Summerfest as a great snack stop, and I'll leave the idea of bratwurst with sauerkraut on the side, because I'm really going to focus on sort of dessert-specific treats. So I'll leave the bratwurst out, but the pretzel, it's like $3. It's delicious if you like it with mustard, if you like it plain, if you're a beer person. Obviously, Germany is a great place to go, but really one of my favorite snacks when I go.
Pretzels are great. And I apologize now ahead of time as I mispronounce names horribly, which I'm probably going to do for some of these restaurants. But speaking of pretzels, one of my Illuminations memories was as you're finished walking around, taking your time, at least I do, listening to the music. Sometimes you're hungry, though, and you're looking for that elusive stand that's still open. Most of them are being closed at the time. But one year I found in Norway the Kringle bakery was still open, and I walked in and got myself, speaking of pretzels, a Kringle sweet pretzel, which was, I never had anything like it before. It's very good, very interesting. Not quite the salted South Philly pretzel I'm used to, so it was kind of a cool change of pace.
I like this too. Very different. You would never imagine sweet and pretzel kind of being used in the same sentence. But you're right. It's covered with like this creamy, sugary thing and sliced almonds. And
yeah, I was going to say, it has little almonds on it.
That
was I'm hungry now. So. Only 9 more to go.
My next one is the funnel cakes over in American Adventure. And I know you can get those elsewhere. Like over at Sleepy Hollow Refreshments in the Magic Kingdom. You could also get it at your local fair. But there's something about eating it maybe when you're watching, like you said, Illuminations, or you're watching somebody over at the American Gardens Theater. There's nothing, fried dough with sugar. You can get it with ice cream, too. You can also get it with fruit or chocolate sauce. It just doesn't get any better than that.
It is a good time.
It's a party in your mouth.
I remember like waiting for. I set up shop in the American Adventure Pavilion, waiting for Illuminations one night, and for an hour I'm sitting there, and I'm right across from the funnel cake, and I'm not only am I hungry, but I'm desperately thirsty. But I'm by myself, and I don't dare leave and lose my spot, so I had to watch person after person get their funnel cake, and that was tough. That was difficult.
And it just smells. So, I mean, you can smell it as you're walking on the promenade. So
yes. Anyway, for my next one, I'm going to go over to the China Pavilion. A couple things there I like, actually. There's the Lotus Blossom Cafe, little counter service, has some nice dishes. Last time I was there, I got the shrimp fried rice, which was really good. It was like it was in a restaurant at home having it. And the thing I like with all the counter service restaurants, and I'll say it at this point in World Showcases, most of them will have sitting areas with tables and chairs and so forth, where most people will sit. And what I like to do, since you don't have to sit there if you don't want to, I like to take my food out and actually go somewhere else in the pavilion, find a nice quiet spot to sit, and get away from all the hubbub and what's going on. And in China is nice because I'll go over by the lily pond and sit there, and it's nice because you have it all to yourself and you can spread out, and that's a good time. The other thing at China that I like too is the Joy of Tea Pavilion, which if they have smoothies there like you'd never had before. Like I had a mango green tea slush there, very different from the normal strawberry and blueberry and those other things, and it was a pretty interesting change of pace.
Well, you stole my number 5. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I'll talk about it again because there's something else I like over the.
Well,
Joy
I did
of Tea.
sneak in 2 there, so I guess I cheated.
Oh, there'll be a lot of cheating on mine because I'll mention one snack and then like 2 or 3 other ones.
Well, this whole list is about cheating, so.
So for my number 8, I'll preface it by saying I am not a big drinker at all, but. If you're walking around the promenade and it's hot and it's late and maybe you're hanging out with friends, there's nothing better than a Fiesta Margarita over at Mexico. It's a combination of lime, strawberry, mango, and kiwi margaritas. It's $8.25. If you don't want the whole giant, Fiesta in your mouth, you can get individually flavored ones. There's lime, strawberry, mango, and green apple margaritas. You could also layer them. They do salt, they do sugar, they do plain. And if you're not a drinker at all, I will give you the non-alcoholic version.
You're stealing my number 8.
Well,
go ahead.
If you're not a big drinker at all, then I'm gonna give you to Tim's number 8. So.
I can take this one. I actually had a feeling you were going to mention the margaritas for some reason. I don't know why, but I hope I'm going to the same place you are. I'm going across the way over there, getting myself a conga fruit drink.
You got it, Toyota.
Is that where you were going? That's right. That's good stuff. What's in there? I forget what's in it. You got some
orange, pineapple, and lime juices.
Lime.
$3.99. It's awesome.
That is a good time.
And it's just so you know, it's not like it's overly sweet or overpowering as it might sound. I mean, it's really, really good.
No, well, it's good. It's unique too. It's instead of the sodas and the water and stuff like that, it's yummy. It's a fiesta in your mouth. It's like that. So. All right, but I believe that was my next one. So we're back to you again.
That would be. I'm going to head across World Showcase over to France, to the Boulangerie Patisserie, and a Napoleon. You can't go wrong. There's strawberry. There's chocolate. Not to mention the other insanely delicious things over there. But for less than $4. You can get a delicious Napoleon. You can get either wine. You can get a cup of coffee. Nice place to sit outside. Not to mention the coconut pyramid, which also gets an honorable mention over the. Yeah, I know. Can you tell I was hungry when I made up my list?
Oh man! Well, I can honestly tell you, I've never spent the $4 at the Boulangerie Patisserie. It ends up being more like 12 or 16 because I'll get the Napoleon. The eclair is the other thing I'll get too. But the one thing I tell about it, and I had to warn my daughter this when we went there, because we're used to the donut shop eclair with the Bavarian cream and the gloppy chocolate on the top. And your eclairs from France, at least the ones I remember, are actually filled with chocolate versus the regular cream we're all used to. And it's like slightly bitter, very sweet, but slightly bitter. So it was a very different taste. I remember my daughter had one, took a bite. Dad, you want to trade? You want the rest of this? Because it wasn't the cream-filled donut she was expecting. But still extraordinary, very, very good. Yeah. That's another place, too, in France, a favorite spot. They have nice tables and chairs outside. But last time I was there, I took my ham and cheese croissant and my pastry and I actually walked across to the other side of the fountains in the gardens over by the waterway leading back to Epcot. Sitting by yourself, the lights are going. It's really nice and peaceful over there. That's something I really like to do when I get a chance. Well, I don't think I really snuck in one of my own there, so
no,
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take an opportunity to do my next one. So, this I like. I will confess, I'm a bit of a Starbucks fanatic. Not a big coffee guy, but I can't go a week without the frappuccinos and the iced lattes and stuff. And walking around World Showcase the last few times, I really never noticed it before, but I noticed this time the stands, and I think there's a few in various places, but they have coffee and that sort of thing. But iced lattes as well, and I tried the Irish cream iced latte, and oh my goodness, it was so rich and, well, creamy, obviously, hence the name, but really good. It brought me back to my spring afternoons at Starbucks sitting outside. It was a delight. Like I said, there's several stands throughout World Showcase. You'll find them throughout. I think I got this one near Italy, but they're everywhere to be found. Scrumptious.
Well, for me, after you roll my fat butt out of the boulangerie, because I've just had so many Napoleons, I'll just kind of waddle across the promenade to Crêpes des Chefs de France, and I'll have a crêpe au chocolat, which is obviously a chocolate crepe. You can also get ones that are filled with strawberries or sugars. $4. Again, very, very unique offering in World Showcase, and they're absolutely delicious. Get it right from the kiosk, right by the water. And like you said, Tim, there's so many nice places to sit, especially at night over in the France Pavilion.
Yes. Yeah, they're everywhere. Actually, switching gears to quiet places, this is a favorite thing I like to do. Not at night, but in the morning. Particularly if you're staying at the Epcot resorts and you walk in through the International Gateway. World Showcase, of course, is not open for a little while yet, but as you make your way past the United Kingdom and Canada, the pavilions themselves are closed, but there are a couple little pastry carts on the way that are open in the morning. And I found it really nice to get a pastry, and then there's really nobody in World Showcase, just the Segway people riding around and trying to knock you over on their tour in the morning. But it's great there because they have my favorite Walt Disney World pastry of all time, and it's the cheese Danish. And I had my first one way back in the Main Street Bakery in the Magic Kingdom. I was so happy to find that they were in Epcot too, and then probably they're in every one of the parks. But these Danishes, not like anything you've ever seen. They're big, they're sticky, and it's most cheese Danishes you get, they have a little spattering of cheese in the middle. No, this is like somebody took a big cheesecake, got the biggest spoon out they could, scraped off top, just plopped it in the middle. Oh my goodness, it's a good time. So I found it's nice in World Showcase in the morning. There's nobody there. Grab yourself a pastry, a little coffee if that's your pleasure. Sit down, look over the lake. Wonderful times.
Is that your next one, or
that was my next one?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned.
What number are we on, by the way?
I think according to my list, this is my number 5.
Excellent. Okay.
So, you mentioned the Joy of Tea cart before. You mentioned the mango green tea slush, which is non-alcoholic. There's also alcoholic drinks there, but what I really like is the flavored iced oolong tea. There's also, if it's really hot out, there's green tea ice cream and caramel ginger ice cream. And if you're a tea fan, there's lots of different varieties of hot and cold teas there. But I really like the iced oolong tea, and again, the caramel ginger ice cream is pretty sweet. Pardon the pun.
Very
as well.
Nice. Because it's never hot in Florida.
No.
Hey, speaking of ice cream, this was the next one is a discovery my daughter and I made when we were going around World Showcase way back when she was filling in her little passport book. And that's in Italy at the gelato stand, which moves around. It's the cart with the donkey on it. If you happen to see that, that's what that is. And they have different flavors of gelato, Italian ice cream. But I recommend, you got your vanilla, ho-hum, but go for the pistachio. It's green, it's weird, it's a little odd, but it's really good, and it's neat because it's not something you can find anywhere. So we like to grab ourselves a little cup, go into the courtyard, sit down. And that was a nice little discovery, and that's something we always try to do when we go back.
That must be an Italian thing, because my grandmother loved pistachio ice cream, and I said, who decided to put nuts, flavor ice cream like a pistachio nut? So
hey, it works. But I'm not Italian. It works for me. So.
Dude, I suffered through a lot of birthday cakes with the pistachio and cherry vanilla ice cream, and I swore that I would never do it again. So
you're off the pistachio gelato, I guess.
No, but when I get to number 3, I'll be back to the pistachios again.
Oh, all right.
But my number 4 is in one of, if not my favorite pavilion and world showcase. It's over in Japan, and it's the kakigori for $2 1/4. It's shaved ice, kind of sort of along the lines of what you'd get maybe at your local carnival or boardwalk, with different fruit syrup toppings. They have strawberry, honeydew melon, which is delicious, tangerine, or rainbow, which is obviously all 3 flavors. Again, it's $2 1/4. It's great, especially when it's hot out. It's unique the way it's prepared as opposed to what you might be used to. Really, really good treat especially for kids too. Kids love the kakigoris.
Well, like I said, it's never hot in Florida. That's funny. If you're going to get that, though, it reminds me of a funny story. It is a lot that they give you, and just be a little careful, because I was down there. My parents got one. I don't think they had one before, and my stepfather had a nice, clean white shirt on, and he must have gotten cherry or strawberry or something. You can see where this is going. Big red stain on the shirt. He loved it, but he got to taste it for the rest of the day. But it's a lot. Be careful, but it's very good. You're right. On to my number 4. This was fun. At one point, I decided that having been to World Showcase many, many times and kind of finding your favorite places to eat, I realized I wasn't hitting all the countries. So I made it a point. I'm going to have something to eat at every country in World Showcase. And the last one I got to was Morocco.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
Well, let's see. I don't know if I'm going to pick what you picked, but I just went for lunch one day, and I got myself I'm going to say this wrong, shawarma sandwich, lamb sandwich. And very nice. I've had a couple of those, actually. And one I enjoyed in a table in the courtyard while watching Moroccan play, which was very nice. The other thing I did, too, which is cool, I took it over to the United Kingdom and sat in the courtyard and caught a little British invasion, my favorite thing to do down there. And
was that your British accent right there?
Yes, it was, my lord.
Just so I know.
Did you like it?
Absolutely not.
All right. We'll put that one to bed.
I will not do my Moroccan accent, though, when I talk about my Moroccan treat, which is my number 3. Don't let the menu fool you. Like I said, I was concentrating more on sort of desserty snacks. If you go into the Tangerine Cafe, which is a small half outdoor, half indoor cafe on the right side of the pavilion if you're facing it from the promenade. If you go in the back, there's a small, very, very small coffee bar back there. Mm-hmm. And they have wonderful and very, very unique pastries. A lot of different types of baklavas. And baklava, in case you don't know, it's made out of a phyllo dough, and it's filled with things like chopped walnuts or, again, back to the pistachios. And it has it often is kind of sweetened with a different type of syrup, or usually like a honey drizzled over it. A lot of different varieties of it. Here is where the pistachios totally work. You sit there, you get yourself a little bit of Moroccan mint tea, sit outside. Just the pavilion is beautiful at night, and really one of those overlooked snacks that I think if you haven't tried it before, this is one of the ones. Again, you're looking at. The tea is about $2, and the pastries are maybe $3, $4 max. So for $5, you can really have a nice little snack, something very different.
Baklava. That is very good. Well, I'm going to go not too far away. My number 3, I guess I'm up to. This is kind of an obvious one. I'm sure everyone's done it, but the United Kingdom fish and chips is it's a good time. And that's again, I love to take them and head on over to the courtyard in the United Kingdom Pavilion and relax. My only problem with the fish and chips are those little tiny tartar sauce packs that I can't open for the life of me. I'll get 10 because I know I won't be able to get 5, especially after I've had a few bites and my fingers are nice and greasy and all that. But they are very good, and I won't do my English accent. I was about to learn.
Okay.
So cheerio, Lou.
I knew it was going to come out again. Well, I'm going to go back around the promenade. I'm going to run away from you screaming as you do your British invasion routine back there. Because when I saw the sign over at the Cantina de San Angel for buñuelos, I did virtual cartwheels in my mind because, I won't tell you how I know about buñuelos and why I used to eat them, but I knew somebody that made fresh buñuelos at home. And buñuelos are sort of these round, doughy fritters that are sprinkled with sugar. But the ones that I was used to that were fresh and made and sort of like baseball sized are very different than the ones you get here, but they're still good. These are pre-packaged, but they're a little more on the crispy side. So if you've ever had buñuelos before, it's a South American sort of dish and sort of dessert or something people have for breakfast. But these are crispy and small, and they are prepackaged, but they're pretty good. So I'm giving you 2 for 1 on this one, and I'm gonna run away because I didn't like these as much as I had hoped, and I'm going to go with the torta de ricotta, which is the ricotta cheesecake over in Italy. That's $3.95. Now you're talking. You get your espresso or your cappuccino, sit over by the Isola in Italy, and sit by the water. That's my number 2.
Well, I would pay $395 to see you do a cartwheel.
Especially as I'm waddling out of the
with
the boulangerie
chocolate and powdered sugar on your face and so forth. Oh, well, I'm heading over to Canada, actually, believe it or not. Now, this actually is one pavilion that doesn't have much in the way of eating beyond the main restaurant that's there. But the one thing I did discover in the gift shop is the maple candy. And
I have some bad news for you.
They don't have it anymore.
They don't have it anymore.
Well, I'll tell you. Then this is my number 2 most cherished memory of a snack. And I'm going to tell you about it and make you sad because you can't get it anymore. But I guess this is mostly a northern or northeast kind of thing with Vermont and that sort of thing. But the maple candy, it's just, I guess it's just really compacted sugar with maple flavoring in it. But it's really good because you get it and it melts in your mouth. You don't have to chew it. It's unbelievable. But I guess if they're not there anymore, the last time I was there, they do have, I gathered their Canadian candy bars, like a whole variety of them there. So you can at least get your sweet tooth there. And it was kind of neat because they're not the candy bars you're used to, like your Snickers and your Milky Way. They're a bunch of oddball ones, so that was kind of nice. But you totally bummed me out that those maple candies aren't there. I'm going to go on. I'm starting a petition, and I hope you'll be.
Well, I'm with it because my wife loves those. So that was something I used to bring home for her. Then, of course, when I found out they didn't have them, I had to go buy jewelry for all my research trips. So,
that sucks. I was just there not too long ago, and they were there. But
I don't know. Maybe they're back. Maybe they're back.
Well, I think research trips are in order. Everybody go out there, see if they're still there. If they're not, pound your fist. Say, I need that maple candy back. And, but it was so delicious.
Well, they also had Canada also used to have the beaver tails, which were great, which are right on the promenade on the kiosk. Those aren't there anymore either, and those are something that would have made my list.
Oh well.
Is it time for my number 1 or is it your number 1?
I think it is time for your number 1.
My number 1, believe it or not, is over at the Kringle Bakery Og Cafe in Norway. And my favorite snack to get is a lefse. And I made the mistake of pronouncing it wrong, so I thank Liz for giving me the correct pronunciation. A lefse it's odd because it's made from potatoes as opposed to like a flatbread or something like that. It's like a potato bread, that's mixed with butter and cinnamon sugar and rolled and cut. So it's almost like almost like the size and shape of a churro that's cut in half. It's only $1.99. You get 2 of them. They're delicious. I usually like to get like a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and sit out in the covered area right by the Stave Church and have it. I think they're delicious. This is one of the things. Spend the $2 and go and try them. And Tim, if you've never had it before, I will treat you to a lefse because I guarantee you'll love it.
I'm in. That sounds wonderful. Hey, for my number 1, I'm going for more of a sentimental choice for mine. We're going over to the Japan Pavilion, and the Japan Pavilion, without getting too deep into it, is actually a very special pavilion to me. It's my daughter loves the Japan Pavilion very much, and we've had a lot of nice moments there. So I always make my way over there. We go into the department store and look around, and she's into all that stuff, the anime and everything. And one of my favorite places of all in World Showcase. And one of my memories, I'm going to do a couple things here. Back when my daughter was littler, and we were touring World Showcase, getting autographs and such, we were there when, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, the Mayuki, the candy lady, was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my daughter she got to the front of the crowd, and she's getting ready to get her candy made. And it looked for all the world like she was getting one, but she ended up giving it to another boy that was next to her, and it kind of brought some tears. And but we got through it. It was okay. But if you do see her, she's amazing what she does with sculpting animals and so forth from candy. Really amazing to watch. But the food of my selection, or the snack of my selection at Japan, is found in the department store, and it's I'm not sure how to describe it. It's called Pocky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually sold anywhere. It's not just an exclusive Disney thing, but a very Japanese thing. It's little sticks, like cookie sticks, covered with chocolate or white chocolate or strawberry, depending on what kind you get. And I said it's a very sentimental thing because my daughter always gets it. Whenever I go, I always pick her up a little box just for her, big box for Christmas, and she absolutely adores it. Whenever we find it, we get it. So that is my sentimental number 1 snack in World Showcase.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, obviously, that we didn't talk about, like the different chocolates in Germany and some of the different snacks. I mean, we could go on, and we could have the top 100 snacks. And to that end, when you talk about Japan, something else I like to do is I'll try anything once. And I love Japanese food. I love the Japanese culture. I love the pavilion. So I like to go in to the Mitsukoshi department store. If you go over by the sake bar, all the way in the back, they have a lot of different, this is probably where you get your Pocky, different types of candies, different types of snacks. You can't read 90% of what they are, but I like to buy something different every time and just try it. Yes, I've tried things like the shrimp-flavored chips.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fish-flavored, crunchy snacks that you wouldn't imagine, and some, might not please every palate, and I'm being very diplomatic when I say that, but some things... you got to try it once, and I'll spend the $1 or $2, buy a little snack, and give it a shot while I'm sitting there, just to say that I tried it. So it's a lot of fun going in, almost like a crapshoot, just to see, grabbing something and seeing if you like it.
I grabbed a bag. I remember once I was there by myself, I grabbed a bag of, little, like a mixed snack kind of thing, like a trail mix kind of thing. I didn't know what it was, and I got it home, or back to the resort, and I'm eating it. Spicy? Oh, I'm eating I had to have continuous glasses of water. It was good, but yeah, I didn't read that in the fine print. Not that I could read the fine print. So, good stuff.
Yeah,
and I want to add parenthetically for everybody, real quick, for all the snacks we're talking about. Lots of I won't say all this stuff was the best food you can have to eat for you health-wise, but you're at Disney, it's okay.
That's
but
right.
you if you are feeling guilty, you can go to the Outpost and get a piece of fruit. I just want to throw that out there.
Fruit?
It's there.
I
know.
I have to edit that part out. No fruit.
I know. Well, here, do this. Get your fruit, eat it, and that forgives you for the rest of the day. You can eat anything you want.
Think about how much you're walking.
I read that somewhere.
Think about how much you're walking and how much you're sweating and everything. You need this energy. You need this sugar to make your way around. Epcot's a huge park. You need the energy to make your way around the promenade and to make your way through World Showcase and through Future World. So you can rationalize it however you need to.
Hey, believe it or not, this is my Disney weight loss plan, and it really worked. If you're there, it helps more if you're by yourself. But I was there once. I didn't eat big meals. I just snacked all over them, like a sandwich here and an eclair there. But between that, not eating a lot, and walking all over the place, I think I lost a pound. It really worked. So there you go. That's my health tip for everybody. The Disney weight loss plan.
Like I said, we joke about doing the eat around the world, and you can do it. And I've tried to do it. I only made it as far as 9 pavilions. Yeah. Trying to grab a little snack from each place. You can't do it during Food and Wine, during all the with all the kiosks out there. But again, so much about Walt Disney World is the quality and obviously the quantity of different types of foods that are out there. And this was sort of just a quick look at some of our favorite snacks in World Showcase. I'm sure if you either tried some of these or maybe if you haven't before, hopefully we introduced you to ones that you might want to give it a shot next time you go. Tim Foster is from GuideToTheMagic.com. Like I said, he is the author of the wildly popular Guide to the Magic books, as well as the new Guide to the Magic for Kids. Tim, I want you to come back. We'll do some more of these different themed Top 10 with Tim segments. Thank you very much for coming back on. This was a lot of fun. If I wasn't hungry before, I'm literally famished now.
Oh, I'm starving. Right?
Yeah, and I see Research Trip in our near future.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Lou.
Thanks, buddy. I get questions all the time on the show about recommended reading and great books about Walt Disney World and Walt Disney, the parks, history, Imagineering, etc. And while I've recommended some in the past and even had a number of authors on the show, what I want to do is really take a look at some books that aren't only kind of required reading for the Walt Disney World and Disney fan, but some that are truly overlooked. And what I'd hope to do is get some experts in the field who could really talk intelligently about some of the finest literary works in the genre. But like Muppet Vision 3D, unfortunately none of them showed up. But I was able to get someone who works cheap and on short notice, and he is George Taylor, one half of Imaginerding.com, a blog about some of those Disney details and geeky facts that we love to explore here on the show. And they're also self-proclaimed voracious readers of theme park books. So I thought George could come on and talk about some of the wonderful books out there that every Disney fan, and certainly every Disney geek, should have in their library. George, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lou. It's great to be here. The studio is beautiful. Thank you so much for flying me up here and spending all this money to have me, do this with you.
What did you think of the jet?
Kind of cramped, a little small. I figured somebody of your stature would have such a huge monolithic fleet. Anyways, we're getting a little bit off topic even before we've started. It's great.
Oh, I can see where this is going to
go. well, when you contacted me and wanted to do this, Lou, you said let's do the top 5, and I could not limit myself to the top 5, so we're going to go with the top 6.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
That's right. And really, when we were kind of talking back and forth, we realized that since there are so many great books covering a variety of different Disney topics, we thought that we'd maybe start off with the top 5 or top 6 books that every Disney fan should own. And we wanted to also make sure that, and you made a good point, make sure that these books were still readily available. Even if they necessarily can't be found in your local bookstore, there's plenty of places you can find them online. But real quickly, tell us a little bit about you and your background, because it's kind of important as to why we're covering books and maybe sort of your rise to geekdom and when the Disney bug sort of first bit you.
Yep. I am a public librarian, and I've been working in public library since I was 16 years. I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, so you can figure that one out. But I've always loved reading, always been a huge fan. It's always been my dream to visit Walt Disney World since I was 4, but I didn't get to do it until much later. And some of the first books I bought started about 1995 were the souvenir guides that you can find in the parks that they produce every year. Just the big color, glossy pictures, and it just sort of ignited my interest in finding books. And back in the mid-'90s, there was not a lot out there that was published. And thanks to my lovely wife, she spends a lot of time hunting these things down on eBay and Amazon, and got about 160 Disney books in my collection so far, and it's growing. And I love reading. I've always enjoyed it, and tear through as many books as I can going through it. So, and I do have to admit before we get started, my very favorite Disney books of all time are the Walt Disney World Trivia books, Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Well, you see...
And you'll send a check next, right?
Yeah, because when I went through your list book by book, I made note that you made a definite choice to leave off the Walt Disney World Trivia books, now available 2 for $28 at DisneyWorldTrivia.com. That was made painfully obvious, but that's okay. I should definitely
It's a foregone conclusion.
No,
they're at the
listen.
top. They're at the very top.
The books on this list, I definitely certainly don't expect to be considered in the same class as these. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off with the first book on your list, and I would definitely agree with you. I'll start off by saying this should probably be on the top of every Disney fan's list.
Yeah, the way Since the World Began by Jeff Curdy was published in 1996, and it was one of the first books that Disney published for the outside book market, so to speak. And I think a lot of people ate it up. It was published for the 25th anniversary of Disney World and really celebrates 25 years of Walt Disney World history. It's one of the first official resources for Disney history, and I love this book. A little bit about Jeff before we get started. Now, this is not Jeff Pepper. I know everybody got confused listening. This is Jeff Curdy. He's a former Imagineer. He's currently an author, writer, and a consultant to the television and film industry. So the guy knows what he's talking about. As I mentioned, this is a great overall look at Walt Disney World. Jeff starts us off with a general history of Walt Disney World, including the land purchases, where the idea of the Florida project came from, and the importance of Walt Disney himself in the whole project for what it's named. He takes us through the whole history up until 96 through 8 chapters. And, of course, the first couple of chapters about the Magic Kingdom and Epcot are the largest, since they were the biggest part of the Walt Disney World projects. It covers building the canals, how they had to basically terraform the land, dredging Bay Lake, and all these little great backstories and histories, and beautiful, beautiful full-color photos, some of them which have only been published in this volume. It goes all the way up through Epcot, talks about the creation of that, the construction, gives you an idea of all the pavilions with some of the concept art, the sketches. When I think about this book, it's, as you mentioned, Lou, it's probably the one reference book that everybody should have once they get started learning about Walt Disney World. If they want to just jump in, it is fantastic. He does, since it's in 1996 when it was published, it does end up talking about the Disney MGM Studios, as it was called back then. And then they dream a little bit, and they mention plans for the Animal Kingdom and the Disney Cruise Line and Disney's Wide World of Sports. So there is quite a bit covered in its 192 pages. And this one is still available. So you can purchase this one through a bookstore, on Amazon, through eBay if you want to. And it's a wonderful book. Absolutely wonderful resource. Can't say much else about it. Tons of concept artwork, tons of pictures. Great little thing. One of my favorite segments is there's little call-out boxes throughout the book, where he'll bring your attention to very specific items that have importance, like the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Talks about how important the monorail is, each of the hotels, the advanced systems, and the environmentality project that Disney has. Like I said, this is probably number 1 on my list, just for the simple fact that, it's got a little bit of everything in it.
Yeah,
I think everybody's going to enjoy it.
I have to say, this is probably, far and away my favorite book. It's one of definitely the few de facto reference sources that I've used, and I think a lot of people do use. But I think above and beyond anything else, like you made reference to, the book is beautiful in the fact that it's a high gloss book. There are incredible pictures of, like you said, the concept art and some various different kind of views of in and around the parks, the construction photos, especially in the Magic Kingdom and the history that it gives. And it's a very easy to read book too. It's a fun, easy to read book. It doesn't read like stereo instructions. It's very linear. and it's very entertaining. And I think Jeff does an absolutely incredible job. And like you said, a lot of the photos and information you see in here, you're not going to find anywhere else.
Yeah, I agree with you. If this, on the whole list that we're going to present, this is one of the two that I think everybody should have. And of course, it's just got information you can't find anywhere else, even on the web. So,
yeah, and like all the books that we're going to cover today, I'll put links in the show notes to where you can find them online, whether it be Amazon or some other places. But yeah, I think we could probably spend a whole segment talking about Since the World Began. Definitely belongs at number one. But let's go ahead and get to the second book on your list.
Okay. Yeah, the second book is Disney, The First 100 Years. This is the only book that we're going to talk about that is actually out of print. You can purchase it fairly cheaply, if I can use that word, on eBay and Amazon. You might find it through some used booksellers. One of the reasons I like this, of course, is it was written by Dave Smith, who is head of the Walt Disney Archives, actually created the archives back in 1971, a little bit earlier than that. So he's sort of my hero, fellow librarian, so I got to give him props for that. But anyways, Disney, The First 100 Years, was published in 1999 to celebrate, to say in other words, just the first 100 years of the company, including Walt's early life. So they went along with the 100 years of magic celebration that we had back in 2001. And it's basically, it's sort of like a cross between a chronology of the Disney company and a history presented almost like it's in an encyclopedia format. Starts exactly where you think it would. It starts with Walt Disney's birth in 1901, and ends with a forecast look at, DCA and the Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is kind of funny to look back and realize they had not, even broken ground on Disney's California Adventure or the Animal Kingdom Lodge. There was still a little blue sky in this book. I put this one in the top 5 because it's such a great introduction to the company in one fell swoop. You don't have to go through and read 20 different biographies of Walt or of the company to get a good overview of what they've done. Lots of family photos in the book that Dave was able to raid the archives, so to speak. And there's pictures of Marceline, pictures of Walt with his friend Walt Pfeiffer. We'll leave it to the readers to go investigate, or listeners to go investigate it. But Dave Smith does move through the company and almost goes year by year and covers everything that happens in Walt's life, with him being in the Red Cross, talking about him working in Kansas City, meeting Ub Iwerks, and when they created their first studio, when Walt moved to California and eventually started the studio with Roy, as the one that we know today. As he moves on, he covers the book in different sections. He does the early years, and then he does 1925 to 1949, which is mostly covering animation and as Walt gets into the throes of live action. He's got starts thinking about building Disneyland or a theme park. And then he does cover 1950 to 74, which does have a lot of TV like the Mickey Mouse Club, the development of the theme parks, and Walt's passing, of course, is covered from 1966. And then it even hits 1975 to 2000, the studio's transitions after Walt, and how Eisner came in and took over and what he did. And it talks about the Florida Project, the films they've done since then, and the rebirth of Disney animation in the late 80s. It's a very positive work. I really enjoy it. It covers all the major milestones of the first 100 years. If you're looking for an overview of the company, it's a great way. And one of my favorite things is just to pull the book out and flip it open. And you'll find something on every page. Lots of photographs. I think that's what all the books I picked have lots of photographs. I wonder if that says something about myself.
You're like a kid. You just want a lot of pictures, not a lot of
I just want the pictures,
reading.
And that's all. But, this book is close to my heart because, Dave Smith wrote it, but there are some amazing pictures of Disneyland, which we don't cover a lot on this coast, the East Coast, so to speak. And it's just a great overview. You can flip it to any page, and you're going to find out what was happening during that year or the couple of years that the Walt Disney Company was doing.
Well, I think even if you are primarily interested in Walt Disney World, for example, and you really, that's where your focus and your interest is, I think it's an important book because you need to establish a background. If you really want to be, the quote-unquote true Disney geek, you need to have a background of not only Walt's life, but a history of the company and what they did with animation and TV. And a lot of also things you see in Walt Disney World will start to make sense. We point out, and Jeff is obviously very good making reference to old movies and sort of these subtle tributes that you find throughout the parks. This will give you a lot of that background, and like you said, a very easy-to-read format. It's under 200 pages, but most importantly, the photos in here, again, are beautiful, also including ones from Walt Disney World that you're not going to find anywhere else. I remember seeing a picture of the Disneyana shop that used to be by where the Walt Disney Story is, an exposition hall. And I've never seen that photo anywhere else other than this book. And the linear fashion it takes, taking you through the chronology of not only Walt's life, but the company and the theme parks. It really is a great primer for anybody that's interested, whether you're interested in just the theme parks or anything else. And like you said, Dave Smith, his name alone speaks volumes for what he knows and what he has access to.
Oh, I agree. Like I said, he's my hero, and if I could find a big poster of him to hang in my office, I would, but just haven't found that one yet. I don't know why they don't market that to us, librarian Disney geeks. That's what it's all about. So,
all right, let's move on to 3 and 3A, sort of, because you kind of have these two jumbled together, but rightly so, because they do kind of work in tandem.
Sure. The next two books that I want to talk about are both by Imagineer Jason Sorrell, who you've talked to before on the show. The guy is amazing. He's still working for the company, one of the authors, currently writing lots of history books. He's got a few in the pipe that I'm very, 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 very excited about legendary Imagineers, but we'll talk about that later.
And Star Wars.
And which one?
The Star Wars connection to the parks.
Which is?
You didn't know about this? You don't know? Wait, you obviously don't listen to the show. What are you doing here?
Wait a minute. I'm testing you. Jeff Pepper told me that whenever you said something, just to let you go with it, so you'd feel better about the. Well, enlighten me, please. I sit at your feet.
Yeah, Jason Sorrell, the next book he's working on is going to be basically about Star Wars and George Lucas and his connection to the Disney theme parks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember hearing you say that on one of your shows. I don't have that one in front of me right now, but
yeah,
I'm
nice
sure
cover.
I can pull it up.
Move along.
But anyways, Jason is an Imagineer, author, show writer. He's done so many things in the company, and I think one of the coolest moments, and we won't spend too much time talking about Mouse Fest, even though it was one of the awesomest times of my life, I just coined that word, is being in the Haunted Mansion with you and Jeff and Jessica and Fred, and talking about the stretching room and some of the changes, and you kind of leaned into me and said these changes were Jason's idea. And I was like, ooh, that was pretty exciting. Just the fact that he is a working Imagineer and he's able to, plush rides, make those changes. But I think I've digressed enough. Jason Sorrell has written two books. One about Pirates of the Caribbean from the Magic Kingdom of the movies, and The Haunted Mansion from the Magic Kingdom of the movies. Both of these books are simply amazing. First one we'll look at was not actually the first one published. Pirates of the Caribbean was published in 2005. The Haunted Mansion book was 2003. But since Pirates was first, attraction-wise, I figured we should talk about that one first. For Pirates, Jason really spent a lot of time talking about the development of the ride in the book. And what's great about both of these books is he spends some time at the beginning talking about the development of the ride, some of the ideas they went through, what the Imagineers did with and without Walt, because both of these rides sort of happened in the transition period of his passing. And from there he talks about the different rides all over the world, the different versions, and then he ends up with the movies themselves. Pirates, he talks about the development of New Orleans Square and how originally Pirates was going to be a museum-type walk-through attraction with wax figures, and the park operators kind of said, no, we can't have that. We need to have a people leader, so to speak, something that will take a lot of hundreds of people an hour, if not more than that. And after the 1964-65 World's Fair, and they had the ride mechanism from It's a Small World from the Coca-Cola... Oh, Coke or Pepsi? Uh-oh. I didn't say that. The UNICEF... I have to go grab my other reference book and figure out which one that was. I think it was Pepsi, wasn't it? Anyways, doesn't matter. The UNICEF ride where they developed the canal boats, and they decided they could use that for pirates and that it would work really well. So they actually tore up the ground in New Orleans Square that they had and had to move the ride outside of Disneyland. I hope I didn't ruin any magic for anybody. But it's just such an amazing part of the book, talking about the development and how Walt was heavily involved with it, sort of in between the World's Fair. They had this idea for this almost from like 1959 or 1960 and just weren't able to execute it. Mark Davis, legendary animation and Imagineer, did almost all the sketches and the gags for the rides. Claude Coates did the sets. Blaine Gibson did the sculptures of all the animatronics. And Ex Atencio, of course, did the script and created that amazing song that we sing all day long, or at least I do. I don't know about the rest of you guys. But Jason talks about bringing everything together and the ride debuting and Walt saying it's not ready yet, and they work some more, and just that how everything, it was just wonderful look at the pre-production artwork, the stills, everything at the beginning. The second section of the book, as I mentioned earlier, talks about the different rides throughout the world. What's the difference between the Haunted Mansion, the Pirates ride at Disneyland, the Magic Kingdom, Tokyo Disneyland, and then Disneyland Paris. They actually go scene by scene based on the original attraction at Disneyland and show you where the different rides break off. For instance, with the one at Japan, Tokyo Disneyland, they said that there was really no good translation for dead men tell no tales, and the closest that they had was no mouth on a dead person, which really didn't make sense, so they changed what they were saying in the attraction to, if you're not careful, you will not pass this way again, which I think, has an ominous ring that Dead Men Tell No Tales has. From there, he just talks about the different parks. He talks to Tony Baxter, who is took over most of the design for the Disneyland Paris one. And what's interesting is Tony actually brings up the point that, in his opinion, the Disneyland Paris version is the perfect version, because they always felt the ride at Disneyland was a little backwards, that the Haunted Grotto that you go into first really should have been at the end of the ride, but they had to have the Haunted Grotto at Disneyland up front because they had to get you under the berm, and they had to get you outside of Disneyland into the ride show. So he says the way that they were able to create the Disneyland Paris show version was much, much better. It's flowed better. And I unfortunately haven't been able to experience the Disneyland Paris one. I didn't know if there was a research trip in the future set up for that, but, just in case I have my reservations ready for that. Well,
let's see how this segment goes first. Then
before we do anything, okay, sure. If I'm renewed for the next season, but even when I'm flipping through the Pirates book, just the as we've mentioned in the other books, the concept art is just amazing. Seeing the layouts for New Orleans Square before they really knew what they were doing, and Claude Coates' set designs, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And at the end of the book, it does talk about the movies. If you have an interest in the Pirates movies, they talk about how they took the sets and how they worked them and how they changed it. So I think it's got a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, and like the Haunted Mansion book, because they do both kind of follow a similar pattern, it's a great balance of history and details about the attraction, and like you said, what goes on worldwide. And the impressive thing to me, and when I talked to Jason, this is one of the things that I was really most amazed about, is because there is so much detail and so much history for both of these truly legendary attractions, to be able to condense it in such a wonderful way into these two books that both range around 140, 150 pages somewhere, following that same glossy 8.5 by 11 look. Mm-hmm. Cramming in the photos, cramming in the history, cramming in the interviews with people that worked on it. It's just amazing. And you want to talk about a book that's worth its weight in gold. I think both of them clearly, pardon the pun, clearly do so. And it's sort of a testament to Jason that he doesn't have just two, but he actually has three books on your top 5.5 list.
Exactly. He's a wonderful author. He just writes so well, and as you said, he pulls this attraction that's almost been in existence for 50 years. Not quite, but with the development and everything, pulls it together so well, and you learn so much about the backstory. I mean, if you love pirates, this book it's a definite. We're going to break people's budgets with this one.
Well, fortunately, these books, none of which are prohibitively expensive. I mean, these run about $22. I know Since the World Began at the time was around $15. The 100 Years was also around $20, $25. You might be able to find those even used online for much, much less than that.
Of course,
if you want. So, but why don't we move on? Because to the next book, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in just one or two of these, and we still have two more to go. So let's go on to Jason's next book, which is number 4 on your list.
Okay, the Haunted Mansion one, or are you skipping to 3A?
You can.
Which one was it?
Well, I kind of lumped those two in there. So.
Oh, okay. Well, the only thing I'll add about the Haunted Mansion before we move is it is my favorite attraction. Don't tell my brother Andy. He thinks Splash Mountain's my favorite one, but it does exactly what you say, Lou. He just takes that whole history of the Haunted Mansion and he condenses it in such a readable format and talks about the differences between all of them. It's just wonderful. But okay, now that I've interrupted that one, the fourth book on the list, The Disney Mountains, Imagineering at its Peak. This book is just simply amazing, and I know the listeners are going to get tired of hearing us say, but when we pick the top ones, these really are the best, and they just stand above everything else, especially for the person that wants to start their collection. But what is amazing about this book, The Disney Mountains, published in 2007, so it's very, very new, basically covers all the major mountains, so to speak, from the Matterhorn Mountain all the way up to Expedition Everest. And it even covers some concept mountains that never quite made it off the drawing board. And Jason goes in and looks at all the big 5 mountains, Matterhorn, Space Mountain, Big Thunder, Splash Mountain, and Everest, looks at them at all the parks throughout the world, if they're available at other locations. Like the Matterhorn is only at Disneyland, Everest is only available at Walt Disney World. And he goes really into a lot of great detail about the development of the rides. One of my favorite quotes from the whole book, I love quoting from the books, is when Walt is in Switzerland filming The Third Man on the Mountain, probably about 1957, and he becomes enamored with the Matterhorn Mountain itself, from the actual Matterhorn Mountain. He sends a postcard back to Walt Disney, what would become Imagineering, with the words, "Build this on the back." And to me, that just says so much about his vision and what he wanted, and the fact that the Imagineers actually brought it to life. I mean, the Matterhorn is the first steel frame roller coaster, basically. And it was the first thrill ride at Disneyland. From there, it just talks about how much ahead of its time the Matterhorn was. The chapter on Space Mountain, though, is my absolute favorite. There's so much concept art by John Hench, going through all the different ideas behind the book itself, or behind the ride. Walt had the idea for it after building the Matterhorn. He wanted another thrill ride in the park. But in the mid-'60s, when they were trying to design it, they just didn't have the computer technology to create an indoor, in-the-dark, high-speed roller coaster like Space Mountain. And they just had to wait a little while until the early 70s, and they got RCA to sponsor it. And there's some great stories that Marty Sklar tells in the book with trying to get RCA to sponsor it.
Well, I'm just going to stop you here for a second, because that's one thing that he highlights in the book that I really enjoyed, was kind of answering some of those questions, like, how did they do that, and why did this, why was this built this way, and why did this change, and why does the concept art differ maybe from what we have here, or why is the West Coast version different than the East Coast version? So you get a very basic but very easily explained technical background on the different attractions as well. But more importantly, and I think this is maybe the hallmark of Jason's book, is he really focuses on, like Disney, the story, and explaining the story and telling the story from beginning to end.
I agree with you totally. And just the fact that you learn so much more about the development of the rides and what they were going to do with Space Mountain, have it loop outside and inside. And finally, when they were able to build it, and it was so successful at Disney World that they moved it over to Disneyland, and it's still, it's one of the most popular rides at the park. Another story that I thought was really interesting is talking about Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, how that was Tony Baxter's first real ride that he was put in charge of, and it sort of stands on the ground or the ashes of Mark Davis's the Big Thunder Mesa that he was going to do at the Magic Kingdom before the suits or the execs decided to put pirates in. And it's got a lot of details about Big Thunder Mesa, the whole area. So it's a fascinating read in and of itself. Splash, of course, is covered. Splash Mountain, all the different versions throughout the park. And the thing that my brother Andy likes to talk about is with Splash Mountain, when they were first building it in Disneyland, Eisner was so excited to ride it that he kept begging the Imagineers. They hadn't even tested it. And he volunteered to be like a human sandbag, so to speak. And the quote is that they wrapped up their boss, the president, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, in trash bags and sent him on the ride so he wouldn't get too wet. At the end, he asked to go again. I said it was phenomenal, and he knew they had a winner. One of the last chapters is on Expedition Everest, and I thought what was really great about this is Jason brings to the forefront that over the years, what the Imagineers have done with their rides is created incredible themes and incredible theming. But what they've finally done with Everest is created a story, and it's considered the first roller coaster to have a story, where they don't have to tell you what's happening. You're not just going out into space. You're going off in search, of the Yeti, and you see everything. And in my mind, actually riding Expedition Everest after reading Jason's book, it was so much more clearer and in your face what the story was, really. And it surprised me how well it worked. Because if you've been on the ride, you know what it's all about. So,
Right.
But it's a wonderful book.
Yeah, and he covers even some of the smaller mountains, literally and figuratively, whether they be mountains at some of the water parks or even some of the mountains overseas, Tokyo Disney Sea and whatnot. Again, beautiful book. All three of them sort of complement one another. And Jason, you can't just say enough. But the last book on your list, other than Since the World Began, I think for me, for maybe research purposes and artwork and rare photographs and unique stories, things like that, is probably my favorite, and I agree with you, probably the most important book to have if you for the to get to earn your Disney Geek card. You definitely need this book.
That's right, the DGC, the Disney Geek Certificate, comes from Lou Mangello University. Is that LMU? Yeah, I think we can use that one. Anyways, the final book, Lou, as you mentioned, Walt Disney's Imagineering, by the Imagineers themselves. They actually wrote this book. Published in 1996. It clocks in at almost 200 pages. And you need to run out and buy this book right now. And it's almost impossible to describe because it's almost like they just threw everything that they could in less than 200 pages. And it's absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it's still in print. You should be able to find it, at least the paperback version, and it's worth it to grab it. The artwork is what's going to catch your attention about this book. Not only is there concept art for rides, pre-production stills for the rides, pictures of the Imagineers at work, at the rides, working with the rock work on Big Thunder Mountain, logos even. There are pages devoted just to explaining how logos help tell the story with their font choices, with the color choices, with how they've laid out the logo itself. They show the attraction posters. I could wax about this book. I mean, poetically, it is absolutely overwhelming. They actually break down what they do in Imagineering. And I almost said Imagineering. I'd be careful. They feel like a nickel every time I say that. They look at each department and relate it to the whole process of the story and how they create the show. So it doesn't just say, yeah, we sit around with a blank sheet of paper and, do this, do that, do the other, and then we build it. It goes into each department. The story process, how they create the show, from the engineers that have to design it to the people that have to build it, and there's even show continuity to make sure they don't have things that contradict themselves. But it's just the concept art, the pre-production paintings, which we've said in every single book. You just stare at them, and you just marvel at how amazing these things are, and in most cases, how they leapt right off the page.
And I mean, this is this book is right up your alley because there's really not a lot of narrative text to this book. It really is mostly a picture book. So George, you would feel right at home here. But imagine, I tried to think how to describe the book as succinctly as possible, and the only way I could do it is imagine if you had a group of Imagineers taking you through Imagineering, taking you through the process, taking you through history, showing you anything that you could possibly imagine and things that you couldn't imagine, from, like you said, the storyboards through the concept arts to seeing the models, to seeing them actually building the attractions, the entire genesis of how an attraction, how a theme park gets built, from the use of color to the use of texture to things that you would never realize go into. We talk about the details that Disney puts into everything. This is the book that literally explains how they arrive at these details and what the importance and the significance of them is. We could literally talk for an entire show just about what this book covers in it.
I agree with you. It's a great way to put it. And I was flipping through the book and hit some concept art and realized that the Imagineers were pretty much given a lot of carte blanche, so to speak, in producing this book. They've included a lot of concept art that normally Disney doesn't let out. Concept art, not necessarily for failed attractions, but for stuff that was talked about and never done. There's a page about the proposed Burbank Entertainment Center, which sort of sounds like what they were talking about a year or two ago about these urban entertainment centers. There's a few pages about the Disney's America Park. They've got some concept art for that, stuff that never quite made it off the drawing board. And there's Disney Sea, what we were supposed to eat in California instead of Disney's California Adventure. It's just amazing artwork. It's just gorgeous. It's beautiful, and as you mentioned, it's probably the most important work overall that's been done. Just for one comprehensive look at Imagineering and everything that they've done over the year. And as I was looking, and I made some notes to talk about. There's even a small section in the book on Disney's the Imagineering Information Research Library in Glendale, which of course is where I want to work one day. And they have over 50,000 books and magazines that the Imagineers use to create the attractions and the rides and the restaurants and the hotels and everything. So it's an astounding work. Walt Disney Imagineering is probably the most important work. I think that we've talked about. So
definitely, and probably the most all-encompassing, visually beautiful. If you could probably go out and get one book, if you had to pick one book off the list and add it to your Christmas list or your birthday wish list, this would be the one.
Yes,
because I think it just covers everything that we talk about when we talk about Disney and Imagineering and the theme parks. And like I said, this book too, not going to break the bank. It probably runs somewhere about $25 or so, and well worth it.
Yep, it is available in paperback, and I've actually given a copy of Walt Disney Imagineering to my brother Andy when he first started the blog with us, and gave another copy to my friend Ray over at Grumpy's Spot to start him on his way. It's just one of those books that is a great first book in your collection. Gets you going, sort of like your training wheels, or your training ears.
The Imagineering Bible. It is the Imagineering Bible. So
that is
if you are a wannabe Imagineer, you definitely need this book to really understand the process.
That's a great point, Lou. I hadn't even thought about that since I'm so stuck in my library career as is. Although I'm hoping, if Dave Smith is listening to this, and he needs a assistant, I'm available. Well, anyways.
Well, listen, George, if you want to come back on and talk about your resume some more, we'd love to have you, because there are a lot more books that we need to cover, and books that are cover very specific topics, different genres, Imagineering in depth, the theme parks in depth. There's so much more about the history of Walt Disney World and the Disney Company Depending on the kind of feedback I get on this, I'd love for you to come back on and maybe cover some of these other books, because obviously you not only have a love and a passion for it, but clearly, you clearly have dived heavily into all these books and clearly love what they have to offer.
Yes, well, next weekend I am going shopping for another shelf. So I filled one up completely, and we'll go from there. But Lou, it's been a wonderful treat to talk with you about some of these books, and I hope the listeners really take something from this to go out and purchase some of these, and just enjoy them and cherish them, and learn more about those little details at the park that are just so important. While you're walking around, and give
Absolutely.
Jeff a little run for his money.
That's right.
So,
and if you're interested in finding out more about any of these books or purchasing any of them, I will put links to them in the show notes where you can find them. Again, these are just some recommended places you can go, but there are plenty of places that you can find them online. Some books, like The Pirates and the Haunted Mansion and the Disney Mountain books, are also available at the Disney theme parks. So next time you go down to one of the Disney theme parks, you can actually pick it up there. George from ImagineNerding.com, I really appreciate you coming on, spending some time talking about, obviously, what are some of our two favorites books in our library.
Thanks, Lou. It was a lot of fun.
That's all the time we have this week. I want to thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. I also want to say thanks to my special guests, Adam Roth and Jason Diffendow from WDWCelebrations.com. You can find out more about A Wild Decade and all of the events by going to WDWCelebrations.com. I also want to say thanks to Tim Foster from Guide to the Magic. You can go and find out more about his books and his website over at GuideToTheMagic.com. And of course, George Taylor from the Imaginerding blog, that's ImagineNerding.com, for coming on and helping me out with this week's show. I'll put links to all their websites in this week's show notes, as well as to some other recommended sites and friends of the show, including OwnersLocker.com, OrlandoFunTickets.com, and so many more recommended providers and links. I also want you to come by and visit our fun, friendly, and very welcoming forums over at DisneyWorldTrivia.com. There you can talk about anything you hear on the show, as well as Disney news and rumors. We now have more than 25,000 members registered on the site who are Disney fans just like you, so I invite you to come and join us. It's fun, it's free, and we love having a chance to welcome and meet new friends online every day. Again, those forums over at DisneyWorldTrivia.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the new look and all the new features of DisneyWorldTrivia.com, including an expanded article section that's updated every few days, as well as my new blog, our weekly polls, vacation planning section, and so much more, including the expanded trivia section with hundreds of new entries, lots of new photos. That is a part of the site that's being updated all the time with lots of new information and photos. And if there's something that you want to contribute, whether it be some trivia or a photo, you can use the contact form on the site to email me those. And speaking of emailing, if you want to email the show, you can email me anytime at lou@wdwradio.com. You can also call the voicemail with questions, comments, suggestions, just about anything you like. That's 206-202-4WDW. That's 206-202-4939. Finally, if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let other people know about it. Thanks very much for listening. Have a great week. See ya.
Mangello, Lou. This is Mike Belials again from Greenville. I called earlier and had the suggestion of turning Old River Country into a haunted island. I still think that's a good idea, some kind of haunted island over there. People love stuff like that. But I always wanted to say that I love your show, Lou, and I listen to a few other podcasts, but you have the best podcast. And I'm 47 years old, and I hunt and fish a lot, and all my friends are rough, and we're pretty rough guys, but I still love Walt Disney, and I get it. My friends don't get it, but I do, and we've probably been 5 times in the past 6 or 8 years, and I plan the trip for 10 to 12 people every time we go, for me and my sister-in-law and her kids and my wife and my 3 kids. And like I said, I get it, and I know you get it, Lou. And maybe the only one who gets it as good as you is old Mike Scopa. Now, he gets it, and I've listened to a few of his speeches, and he is awesome, too. But I appreciate what you do, Lou. I really love listening to your show. It really helps pass some time here at work when I'm running these machines. See ya. Bye.
Hi, Luke. My name is Lindsay. And we just heard, my mom and I just heard your episode, and I'm so excited because I'm going to Magic Meet, and I can't wait to meet you in person. I'll see you soon. Bye.